Hey everyone, I'm Nishagni and this is Nishagni Tarot, where you receive inspired insights to create an empowered life. So welcome. This is the part 2 video of our 3-part video series where I'm going to talk to you about the best books for people who want to get started on their spiritual journey. Now, if you haven't watched my first video yet, I will link it below in the description box. And the first video is about the top books for beginner tarot readers. So I will link that down below. And the third part of this video, which I'm going to be filming soon, is about the top books on Indian magic and spirituality that you can pursue or you can peruse if you are living in India, South Asia, or you're interested in Indian magic. All right, so let's get started. So in today's video, I'd like to talk to you about some of the books that I used as a beginner on my magical journey. Now, to give you some context, my magical journey is essentially all about energy work, right? It's about meditations, it's about working with positive visualizations, it's about prayer, right? Not religious prayer per se, but prayer in the form of sending out good thoughts, sending out healing thoughts, and positive vibrations, right? And it's all about using natural elements such as the 4 elements, or the 5th element as well, the earth, fire, water, air, and spirit, of using the symbolism of plants, animals, and insects and other natural living creatures, and working with the energies and archetypes of deities from across religions. I am practicing Hindu, but I also work with deities from other religions as well. So it's all about energetic working. So for example, if I pick up the card of Brahma, I meditate on what the concept of Brahma means to me, and I try to tap into the archetypal energy that is associated with Brahma, correct? Or if it is the Empress, then I look at the archetypal meaning of the Empress card and I work with the energy of the Empress in order to manifest whatever I wanted to, achieve. So that's how my magical working works, and I usually use my books to inform me of new concepts, new ways to work with natural elements, and so on. So let's get started with the list of the books that I recommend every beginner magical practitioner, every person who's beginning on their spiritual journey, pick up, so that, and these are mainstream books, mind you, and these are not specific to India. These are basically very globally known books, and which you will find very easily in the market and at very reasonable costs as well. All right, so the very first book is Women Who Run with the Wolves by Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes. So Women Who Run with the Wolves is a really interesting read. So this book is basically, it explores the myths and the archetypes and the stories of the wild woman. So, women across cultures, across regions, and across times, are expected or have been expected for many millennia to be very submissive and subdued and to defer to the patriarchy and to the men in our lives, right? And women have had to work really hard to fight off the patriarchy and to create a space for themselves in the world. And for doing so, for showcasing their powers, for tapping into their inner strength, and for pushing away all these limiting and oppressive institutions, they have been dubbed as the wild woman or the savage woman, or someone who is not civilized, who is not like the proper woman, right? That's what society, the patriarchal society, dubs such women. So what Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes does in Women Who Run with the Wolves is explore the different myths and the archetypes of wild women, and helps readers, especially readers who identify as female or femme, or any spectrum of the gender that leans towards women. So the author talks of how we can use the archetype of the wild woman to channel into ourselves and to become the most courageous and most expressive versions of ourselves, right? A lot of times we hold ourselves back, we apologize for creating space for ourselves, we apologize for having opinions, we apologize for having questions, we hold back our thoughts, we hold ourselves back from chasing after promotions or chasing after relationships. or even chasing after our dreams that we might have nurtured for so many years, right? So in this book we learn a lot about how it's okay to be the wild woman, it's okay to be the savage woman, because women have given a lot up during the past millennia, and the time has come for women to stop denying themselves, and how women can come into their own, come into their power, and lead really successful and fulfilling lives. And when I say women, I mean anyone who identifies as a woman. So trans women or femme, and anyone who identifies or leans towards the woman gender role, right? So how we can destroy the patriarchal definitions of womanhood, and how we can become the most powerful versions of ourselves. So that is why I would recommend this book, because it's an amazing study in psychology, and the energy that this emanates is extremely powerful, and it can really help you reframe your mindset, right? And move from being the oppressed mindset towards the empowered mindset. That's why I recommend this book. The next book that I recommend is, of course, an essential. It's something that is recommended to every beginner on their spiritual and magical path, and that is Essential Wicca by Scott Cunningham. So Wicca, for those of you who don't know, is a religion, and it's not just a practice. For example, magic is a practice, but Wicca is a religion. Just like Hinduism is a religion, or Islam or Christianity or Buddhism is a religion, Wicca is a religion. And Wicca is a pagan religion. It's a neo-pagan religion originating from Europe, and it focuses on nature worship. So Essential Wicca by Scott Cunningham, it outlines the traditional aspects of Wicca, specifically told for solitary practitioners. Now Wicca has, since generations, since the time it was codified and created, Wicca has been the I would say it's been mostly used in covens or in large groups, where there's a high priest and a high priestess who are sort of like the leaders of the group, and who invite people into the group, and who induct and initiate new practitioners into the group, and they share their knowledge of Wicca with them, that especially the Wicca that is practiced by that group alone, right? So for a very long time, for many years, Wicca was something that was inaccessible to the solitary practitioner, that is for someone who wanted to practice alone. But then Scott Cunningham came along and wrote this book, Essential Wicca. Now you may get another cover if you're living in the US or Europe, but in India this is the cover we are getting right now. So in this, Scott talks about how you as a solitary practitioner can learn about Wicca, and how you can practice Wicca in your day-to-day life. And one of the things that I realized after reading this book is how similar Wicca is to Hinduism. And that's mainly because even Hinduism is a pagan religion which focuses on nature worship. So I found that a lot of practices that are there in Hinduism, that I have been practicing my entire life, is something that is there in Wicca as well. So you get to learn about how to work with nature spirits, and please excuse me, and how to channel natural elements and so on as part of your practice. So this is a book that I highly recommend, and if you are part of a pagan religion just like I am, then you will find this book a really delight to read, because it covers a lot of the normal things that you might have been practicing already. This is definitely, I would say, the first book that you need to pick up if you're learning about Wicca. And yes, this is a little outdated in the sense that some of the things that Scott talks about is something that a lot of new age practitioners don't subscribe to. But since this is a seminal work, I would say start with this, and then you can move on to more modern practitioners such as Thorn Mooney or Ethany Dawn, or Harmony Nice. Harmony Nice is actually a millennial. She's I think 23, 24 or something, and Harmony recently wrote a book on Wicca, so that's a very current book. So Harmony Rice or Thorn Mooney, all of these people can be amazing current practitioners of Wicca whose books you can pick up, right? So after this book, another book that I would recommend by Scott Cunningham is Earth Power, and this one is my personal favorite. Okay, even after Vicar, Essential Vicar, this is something that I actually highly recommend, especially if you like working with Mother Nature, if you like to garden, if you like to work with plants and trees, if you like to spend a lot of time in nature, if your spiritual practice is going to be about spending time at a park, sitting under a tree, meditating, or collecting rocks and flowers and leaves, and just building yourself an altar at home, right? Then this book is fantastic. And this book is so close to my original practice, my own religious practice, that I was just astounded by how, despite being so culturally different from Scott, because Scott is an American and comes from a Christian background onto Wicca, right? And yet Wicca is so close to Hinduism, I was just astounded by it. And even if you're not practicing any pagan religion, even if you're practicing an Abrahamic religion, or if you're not practicing any religion at all, if you're an atheist, you are going to find a lot of value from this book, right? Because this book shows you how you can celebrate Mother Earth, Mother Nature, and how you can use normal things like a rock or a puddle or a rain, a rain shower that occurs, or just the winds, and how you can work with them in your day-to-day life, how you can harness their energies, how you can send out your positive thoughts. For example, one magical technique that Scott talks of in this book, Earth Power, is about combining the power of earth and water to make your wish come true. So for example, you have, let's say, applied for a job at a company, right? And you haven't heard back from the employer yet. So what you can do is, if you're on the seaside, you can take a stick and you can write down your wish on the sand close enough to the water's edge, so that when the wave comes and washes over your writing and the writing disappears, it's essentially like the earth is discharging your wish onto the sea, which will take it forward into the universe. Or if you don't live near the sea, if there's going to be rain, you can take a piece of chalk or some rice flour and write down your wish in an open space where the rain is going to fall. And as the rain falls, as the raindrops and water hit the earth, and your wish, what you've written, what you've drawn, starts to dissolve and disappear, it's sort of like the energy, the manifestation that you've built up releases out into the universe, and the universe takes up your message, takes up your positive energy, and sends it out so that your wish comes true, right? So these are very simple things that you can do every day in your life. Maybe you've done this yourself, you've been doing this without knowing that this is a magical technique for a really long time. But there are really simple, cost-effective ways. You really don't need to buy anything except for this book, perhaps, if you want to practice any of these techniques, because you can literally use everything that you find outside, in a garden, in a park, or just in your balcony, right? This book is absolutely stunning. So these two are the only books that I recommend so far of Scott Cunningham. The next book that I want to talk about is Crystals, The Modern Guide to Crystal Healing by Julia Van Doren Goldirox. So this book is really good, especially if you love working with crystals, because it's got a lot of information about different kinds of crystals. So specifically, for example, you get a lot of like tables like these, which talk of what crystals you need to use for which purposes, right? And then you also have the crystals themselves. Like for example, over here, you have the name of the crystal, whether it's water washable or not, what is the scientific symbolism of it, what is the magical symbolism of the crystal, and how the crystal looks in reality. So now the way I use this book is through bibliomancy. So a lot of us can't afford crystals, all the time. At the most, you may be able to buy 1 or 2 crystals, but on the whole, crystals are pretty expensive, right? I certainly don't have more than 2 or 3 crystals of my own, and those were pretty pricey as well. So what I did instead was I purchased this book, and I use something called bibliomancy, when you close your eyes and you just visualize your wish, right? So let's say I wish for a good job. So, and then I keep thinking about it, and I flip the pages, I keep flipping, I keep flipping, I keep flipping, and then finally I open a page, and the crystal that comes up will be the answer to my solution. And what I do is I meditate on that crystal, I read up the information that is given over here, and I imagine the power of this crystal infusing my wish, infusing my desire, and taking my wish out into the universe so that it comes true. So again, it's very energetic working. So this book has a huge compendium of crystals, and I personally like this book is because it has the photographs of the crystals themselves. So you don't need to pick up your mobile phone every time to Google what the crystal looks like, because this crystal, the photo is already available here. Whereas there are a lot of other books which are much larger than this, and which collect a lot more crystals, and they talk about a lot more crystals, but they don't have the photographs. So because of that, it becomes problematic, especially if you, like me, don't enjoy picking up an electronic device while you're meditating, right? I prefer to just have organic things like books in front of me rather than my mobile phone. So if you're like me, then you'll enjoy the photographs and the explanation in this book. So this is something I highly recommend, especially if you can't afford buying the physical crystals itself. The next book that I want to talk about is Sacred Smoke by Amy Blackthorne. I'm sorry people, I'm just having a little bit of a dry throat day today. So Sacred Smoke. This book, incidentally, I got it as a giveaway prize by the Rebel Herbalist, and I hadn't heard of it until then. So this was just like a couple of months ago, and I really love this book, right? So a lot of us use incense, right? Either to worship our deities, or to just make our rooms smell better, or to cleanse our tarot decks, oracle decks, or other divination tools. So a lot of us buy the incense, from a store, right? We buy a pre-packaged incense, either the pod or the stick, and then we use it at home. What Sacred Smoke does is take you through the process of making your own incense at home, right? So Amy covers everything from what kind of herbs are, they make good incense when they're dried up, good incense when they are still fresh, what are the correspondences, like for example, which herb is for good luck, which herb is for romance, which herb is for health and healing, and so on. And how do you make the incense at home? How do you have a smoke, or how do you use this sacred smoke in your magical practice or in your day-to-day practice, whether it's a prayer practice or a magical practice or a divination practice, what have you. So this book covers a lot of that information, and you learn everything about how to make incense, whether it's dried incense or in the form of a stick incense or a cone incense or just incense flakes. How do you use them? How much are you supposed to use them? Whether they're good for, whether they are hypoallergenic, or whether you should be worried about allergies, are they pet friendly, and so on. So we do have quite a bit of information about all of this, with quite a few recipes in here. And if you like to use incense, and if you want to make your own incense, then definitely you should pick this up. In saying this, one thing I do need to say is that this book is focused mostly on North American herbs, because Amy Blackthorne is from North America. So if you're like me and you're outside of North America, then all the herbs in this list may not be of help to you. You may only have access to some of them. Yet what I would recommend is that if there's a herb in this list that you cannot access in your country, in your geography, then just read through the correspondence that Amy has given for that particular herb, and then do a Google search of which herbs in your location can be used in, or rather which herbs in generally are used for this particular correspondence, like for example health or for love, and look through the list of all those herbs and identify a herb that you can actually go out and purchase in your neighborhood, and that can be the default alternate for the herb that Amy has mentioned in the book, right? So that's something that I normally do because I don't get a lot of North American or European herbs over here in India. So I look through the correspondence list and I find something that I do get over here. So that is something you can still do, and you can still follow a lot of the instructions over here in Sacred Smoke, right? The next book that I'd like to talk about is Psychic Witch by Matt Oren, right? Okay, so this book is actually really good because it helps you hone your sixth sense or your ESP, extrasensory perception, right? So one thing I have to say right off the bat is that you don't have to identify as a witch. You don't have to be a witch to use this book. The reason I'm including this book in the list of best books for spiritual beginners or for magical beginners is mainly because I believe that everyone inherently has that sixth sense, right? They have that extrasensory perception. They have, you may call it instinct, you may call it intuition, or you may call it a hunch, or just, butterflies in your tummy telling you something is wrong, what have you. But every one of us has that. But the thing is, as we grow up, we are discouraged from pursuing this particular skill of ours, from nurturing the skill of ours, and that's what makes things very problematic, right? We have been given this gift from Mother Nature, from God, what you believe in, right? But we choose not to hone it because of societal pressure. What Psychic Witch does is take you through step-by-step process through numerous exercises, right? There are like a lot of exercises in this book, and Matt teaches us how to hone that sixth sense, how to hone our extrasensory ability, how to hone our intuition, how to hone our instinct, and how to hone that psychic skill that we have, which will help us stay in tune with the energetic vibrations that are there in the universe, and help us realize when something is amiss, or help us realize when a good opportunity is coming our way so that we can take advantage of it. So that's where Psychic Witch really helps. I really like this book because it takes a very practical approach to psychic development. This is not a theoretical book. It is a complete hands-on practical book where you need to actually work and do these exercises. You need to do these workings, where all of them are based on meditation, right? So which is exactly why I absolutely love this book, because like I said, my magical practice is based heavily on meditation and energy work, heavily on channeling the energies and symbolic energies of different beings and different entities, and using meditation to send out positive thoughts, using meditation to send out my wishes. And that's exactly how many of the exercises over here work. And you have 93 exercises in this book, right? 93 exercises, and mind you, they are not easy. When I first started working with this book, the very first exercise took me more than 3 weeks to master because it was so difficult. It's all about bringing your intention together, bringing your focus together onto a particular task that you're doing, and being truly committed to that moment, body, mind and soul, right? And it's not an easy thing to do. So I highly recommend Psychic Witch for anyone beginning on their spiritual or magical journey, or even if you're not if you're not a part of a spiritual journey, if you just want to hone your instinct or your sixth sense, then this book is absolutely amazing, because it's your sixth sense. Learning to trust your intuition, learning to trust your psychic abilities can save your life and can protect your loved ones as well, right? So highly recommend Psychic Witch by Matt Oren. Now we come to the final book in the list of best books for spiritual beginners, and that is Ancestral Medicine by Dr. Daniel Four. So you may have seen this in my last video. If you watched the books on tarot books video, I have recommended this along with Nancy Hendrickson's Ancestral Tarot, and that's mainly because this book is so freaking good, right? So this book focuses heavily on working with ancestral energies, and most importantly, healing the trauma that is there in our ancestral lines, right? A lot of us face trauma. Either our own family members in the past have experienced some sort of violence. It could be physical violence or emotional violence, or in the form of colonial violence, right? We may have been ripped apart from our birth homes, our ancestral homes. For example, a lot of people from the African diaspora were taken as slaves from the African subcontinent onto America and to Europe. A lot of Indians were taken as slaves from India to Europe, right? Especially Britain, Dutch, Spain, and so on. So you may have had those kinds of trauma in the past, and although you may not remember any of your ancestors who come from that time, that trauma still, informs your life in myriad ways, in invisible but very important ways. And or it could be, someone might have been attacked, or somebody might have experienced an illness, and that trauma would have moved forward onto your life, and unless it is addressed, onto your children's or your descendants' lives as well. So ancestral medicine talks of how you can heal your family through working closely with the ancestors. Now again, just as with ancestral tarot, I do have to say that you do need to have the belief that you can work with the dead, you can work with your ancestors in order to do ancestor veneration. Otherwise, all the practices in this book kind of go to waste, right? If you don't have that belief. So this book talks of working with ancestors not just in terms of your blood ancestors, right, but also the ancestors of the land that you're living in. So if you have immigrated to a new country, the ancestors of who were living in that place before you immigrated to that place, because they become the spirits of the land, and working with them can help you lead a more mindful life. Or the ancestors of your career. So for example, if you chosen to become a fashion designer or an engineer, the people who trudged along this path and who made inventions, who made discoveries, who broke down barriers, they are key ancestors who worked, who have influenced your career and therefore your life as a whole, because your career is what feeds you, clothes you, right, puts a house over your head. So those ancestors also have such a huge bearing on your life. So ancestral medicine talks of how you can work with various ancestors. The book Dr. Danielle Four covers about how you can choose which ancestors to work with, how you can identify if a particular ancestral energy is malevolent, how you can stop your communication with them in a safe manner, and what kind of offerings you need to leave out for your ancestors, as a thank you, to show gratitude for their help in your current life, how to heal the trauma in your ancestral line, how to get blessings for yourself and your descendants, and how to generally nurture your family in a positive way. There is also a section here for ancestral healing and ancestral working for people who have been adopted, right? So if you are an adopted child, or your child is adopted, then this information can help you or them to work with the ancestral spirits of their country, if you know which country they're from or which community they're from, or from the land that they're from. And it also talks of how to integrate the adopted individual's history into the lineage of the family that has adopted, right? So you can learn so much from this book. It is very beautifully written. It's very cathartic. And yes, it does take a lot out of you emotionally and physically as well. So I wouldn't recommend this book as something that you would, just do one shot, right? Read this book, and cover to cover by all means, but take your time going through the processes in this book, because it is extremely emotionally draining, and it does take a long time to establish connection with your ancestors. So take it easily, and trust yourself and trust your gut feeling. And if you have used the exercises in this book, your psychic intuition, your sixth sense will tell you whether a particular ancestor is worth pursuing or not, and whether it's safe to go ahead with this particular ancestor or not, right? So yeah, this brings me to the end of the top books which you can use if you are on a spiritual journey, if you have just started your spiritual journey. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and let me know if you have any of these books or you intend to get one of these books, and I'll see you later. And watch out for my next video on the top Indian books or top books on Indian magic and spirituality. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.